RTS and tactical games have followed the same formula for decades, but today I will show you Fleetbreakers, a game that does things differently. We'll delve into all aspects of its gameplay, and at the end I will share some thoughts I managed to snatch directly from its developers. These include David Pottinger, who was lead designer on Halo Wars, while his colleagues also worked on Age of Empires and Age of Mythology. Yet in spite and also because of that pedigree, Fleetbreakers goes in a completely different direction, with short missions, small unit counts, squads instead of singular units, very little resource management during battles, no production buildings, and finally a roguelike campaign structure. The game consists of two sections, the real-time battles and the campaign map layer, which we will get into later. The battles start with something like a space station called your mothership. From it you build structures like prisma extractors and turrets. You also get one of the maximum of 4 squads at the start of each new battle. Your enemy typically also has a number of squads and structures and will produce more as you battle each other over objectives. Battles end either when your mothership is destroyed or you complete these mission objectives. Ship squads have one or more abilities and also their normal attack, while extractors collect prisma as your resource and turrets do what turrets usually do, i.e. defend an area. More squads can be spawned in at any point during a mission, but once they are completely destroyed, they get benched for the remainder of the battle. Despite the reliance on active abilities with cooldowns, Fleetbreakers is by no means an APM fest, especially because of the very small fleet size and only 4 squadrons at your command. Graphically, the game is full of vibrant colors, explosions and effects. It's easy enough to appreciate the eye candy these devs prepared for us, though there is an obvious performance cost to all of this in terms of occasional slowdowns to single-digit frame rates when, for example, played on a laptop with a lower-tier mobile GPU using the default graphics settings. So I hope it will get more optimized as it gets closer to its release date. The sound and music can be mostly described as unobtrusive, but with the atmospheric and slightly eerie background music, you do get the sense of a deep space adventure. When giving an order to a squad, your squad's captain will acknowledge it with a sharp voice line. These are quite well done, and in a slightly disturbing manner, sometimes you also hear a tiny little final scream when your squad gets destroyed. What I have to point out the most, and what will feel to you most different when you try the demo for yourself, is that the game does not control like a traditional RTS game. Instead, you select your mothership or one of your squads by pressing corresponding keyboard keys. Unit construction can only be done by deploying a squad from your inventory, for lack of a better word, to one of the slots you have for them. So you cannot play with every squad you have all the time, but rather you can select them based on the situational needs and their specific strengths and weaknesses. Like a basketball coach with a bench full of good players, and you have to pick the right ones to best match the opposing team's players. I have noticed that some folks who played and tried out Fleetbreakers already have critiqued the control scheme because of a lack of control groups. To me, it seems doubtful this will cause any real problems, because there is no reason to ever need to assign 2 squads into one control group when you only have 4 squads to control. Maybe there could be a reason, but giving every squad its corresponding key on the keyboard has the advantage that you don't have to reassign control groups, which would be kind of a hassle in such a small scale game. The simplicity of the current scheme seems to suit this game well. Even so, it would perhaps be even better if players would be able to configure whether they want to control the game in this way or in a more traditional RTS way. Nothing wrong with having more choices. As for the combat spaceships themselves, there are 3 categories which work inside of a rock-paper-scissors system. First off, the Guardian class consists of generally slower ships with short-range attacks, which makes them good against the faster, flimsier and also short-range ships of the Assault class. However, the fast, agile ships of the Assault class can easily swoop in and just shred the glass cannon-like ships of the Siege class. The Siege class, in turn, has massive firepower over a long range. Slow ships of the Guardian class simply die to them before they have much of a chance to close the distance. Siege ships are also great at destroying the enemy base from afar. Outside of this system, there is the Specialist class, which seems to be a category for ships that don't fit in the other categories, for example, scout ships. To put this combat balance into a different perspective for you, there are the tanks class, like the ships of the Guardian class. They are sturdy and can do a melee charge ability where they move quite fast and ram enemy ships, dealing a ton of damage. In contrast to these hulks, scouts are small but really fast and can stun enemies, but they usually don't win in a straight up fight. The most powerful weapons in the demo can be found on the railguns, ships that belong to the siege class and can sometimes kill an enemy with a single shot from their special ability but die really quickly, meaning glass cannons. During the missions I played, I usually found myself wanting something less extreme, for example the shredders, which are of the assault class. They are more of a jack-of-all-trades squad, which can do a melee ramming ability like the tanks, but are quite fast and can fight most enemies. In Fleetbreakers, resources do not play the same role as in traditional RTS games, because having more resources does not allow you to have more or bigger squads, although Prism also allows you to retrain lost units, meaning that besides paying for turrets to be constructed, you use the Prism resource to return ship squads to full combat status, almost like in Dawn of War fashion. The other resources, which are science, credits and flux, can only be used outside of battles for the more management side of gameplay. Fleetbreakers flirts between being an RTS and a real-time tactics game. In RTS games, you collect resources inside battles to get bigger armies to crush enemies. Building and destroying the enemy economy is a huge part of the game, whereas in RTT games, there is no economy and the only thing that matters is which side fights best. In this game, it is a little in between. You don't get to overwhelm your enemy, but collecting resources is still possible and useful. The current demo contains two short campaigns. The first is a tutorial where you get introduced to ship abilities. The second mini-campaign is more substantial, as there you need to beat a boss at the end of it. The tutorial does not explain everything. For example, some things like spending resources on upgrades in the roguelike campaign screen, which happens after a mission, do not happen until the second proper campaign. By then, the game has stopped giving so many hints and you will have to figure it out by putting your grey matter to work. After most successful missions, you get the chance to select from 3 random squadrons to add one to your fleet. These you can then spawn in subsequent missions, and therefore this is one of the roguelike aspects of the game. After selecting your mission reward, you go into the campaign screen or mission select screen. This is a turn-based map layer metagame reminiscent of those seen in Total War or even the board game Risk. It contains of hexagonal tiles which represent locations that you control or attack. You can choose a hex the enemy controls, see some information about the kind of rewards and objectives of the mission you need to finish to free this location and choose whether to attack it or not. The first hex you control is your starbase, where you can research various upgrades with the science resource. You can get science by playing missions and opening certain crates during these missions, or by collecting it each turn from colonies. You can also build these colonies on certain tiles. They cost a number of credits to construct, which is another resource that you can get by opening crates during missions. Different types of colonies give different benefits, like access to new technologies. For example, the shipyard allows you to research technologies that benefit your squads. While you are completing missions, your enemy will also be researching technologies and moving across the map. There are a few distinct mission types in the demo I have played. Some missions have you collecting a certain amount of prism before an enemy fleet attacks and you need to defend. Others just have you destroy all enemies or destroy a specific enemy. Another common mission objective is collecting crates. During the campaign and when starting a new one, there are short story sequences featuring cartoon characters. These sequences are not animated. They are generally quite well done and do serve to break up the pace in between battle missions a little bit. Despite the simplicity, the game is quite difficult. Like in most roguelites, dying a lot is part of the fun. At first, some missions might seem undoable. If a mission starts to feel that way for you, then you have a few options. You can choose to retreat, going back to the mission select screen. In this case, you lose a bit of HP on your mothership. If the HP on your mothership gets too low, you cannot retreat anymore. Also, you lose out on mission rewards. You can choose to go ahead with it anyways and probably lose the game and start a new run of this campaign. Or you can be a little sly and exit the game, restart and try another mission. I have to confess, I did that the first few times. This is probably unintentional, and I suppose devs can try to fix it, so you are forced into actually using the retreat option. Eventually, my first real campaign ended. The enemy was too strong, my skills too rusty. My mothership lost its final bit of HP, and I was unceremoniously booted to the game over screen. When I decided one beating was not quite enough and wanted to start a new game, the game prompted me towards the discovery screen. Here you can use your collected Flux resource to research discoveries or permanent upgrades before starting another run. The first one you get allows you to retrain replacement ships while the mission is still ongoing. These permanent upgrades are the light aspect of the roguelite part of the game. The research tech tree here is quite expensive, so that eventually you will hopefully be able to research enough to finally beat the boss at the end of the campaign. Flux is awarded for completing missions during a campaign run and for completing achievements like using an ability a certain number of times. This gameplay structure fosters replayability, but does result in a bit of repetition, as the second time of playing the campaign you will probably notice that some of the missions are very similar to last time. Again, nothing new if you're used to playing roguelike games, and just like those, this game too is a completely single-player experience. Which might be a bad thing, as we get a lot of multiplayer titles already, and the depth in this game is not on the level of a traditional RTS or Total War's tactical battles. Although the devs say this game will not have any multiplayer, if the game does well enough, they would like to add cooperative multiplayer in a sequel. When asked about any other future plans, the dev told me that a lot depends on how well the game does after launch, but he would like to do content drops post-launch and hopefully develop Fleetbreakers into a franchise. What stands out about this game is just how innovative it is. When asked why these veteran strategy game developers wanted to go in such a different direction, they responded it's because they already made those older games and wanted to do something that feels different and maybe a bit fresh. This is apparent from playing Fleetbreakers. It is kind of like Total War, except it is in space, except it is on a small scale, except it is a roguelike, except there are resources in battles, except. We could go on. The game is just its own thing that stands apart from what we have seen before. Although many, an old gamer, would probably like to play similar games to what came before, repetition can also get a little boring. Games need to change in order to keep us gamers on our toes, and though the dev says he does not like to throw the word innovation around, there is just no way around it, as Fleetbreakers clearly spells innovation with a capital I. This is something I really want to see in more games, and I hope you as fellow gamers will appreciate it. I will continue to keep you up to date on anything related to Fleetbreakers in my RTS news videos, but for now, thank you all for watching, and as always, happy gaming!